Well, each year, dozens of women from poor families are lured to the West for sham marriages, particularly in Europe. It's so their so-called husbands can get into and work in the European Union. As Charlene Aaron reports, it's a form of human trafficking that leaves many of the women with nothing or forced into prostitution.
Klara Belagova grew up in Slovakia in a poor gypsy settlement. At 18, she left home for Great Britain to marry a man she had never met. The arranged marriage would allow the Pakistani bridegroom to live and work legally in Europe. Upon her arrival in the UK, the man took her passport and other documents, leaving her with nothing.
He didn't let me out at any time. He told me it was not possible to go out there. He always said that.
Then Belagova's husband-to-be dumped her, all alone. Each year, scores of women like Belagova are lured to the West for marriage shams, something that's on the rise as Britain tightens its borders and lawmakers urge for tougher immigration laws. Authorities say the prospective bridegrooms are often Asian or African, living in the EU illegally or on short-term visas. The men promise jobs, money, and a better life abroad, all so they can stay in the country without fear of deportation. Most brides get paid for trips to countries like Britain, Ireland, and Germany, not realizing it's all a scam until they arrive. They're often held captive until the signing of their marriage papers. Many end up trapped without money in a foreign country, or worse, used for sex and drug trafficking.
The going rate for a female is between £3,000 and £4,000, of which the female will see virtually none of that. So that would be the money that we think has changed hands.
Many of the brides end up in Britain.
We have information that there are in the Rochdale area upwards of 400 sham marriages. I think it's important to say that that doesn't mean there are 400 trafficked victims, but certainly of those 400, some will have been trafficked into the country illegally.
Alan Doherty from the charity Hope for Justice wants to help these women. He says poverty and fear drive them to such desperation.
The victim doesn't want to do this, but feels they've got no way out. So they will go into the sham marriage thinking that they've got no choice. And actually where people argue and say, no, I don't want to do this, that's where perhaps the trafficker will use other means of control. And that's where threats against themselves or their family back home are used. And that's a very powerful way of controlling somebody. If you think that your family back home, that the house is going to be set on fire or people are going to be attacked and injured, it's a massive means of controlling you, and people tend to go along with what the trafficker wants them to do.
Belagova eventually returned to her home in Slovakia, but she says she's willing to take her chances again for a shot at a more prosperous life.
It was 100 times better for me in England. It's not good at all for me here. I'd like to go back to that city.
Decisions like that make the British crackdown on this type of human trafficking all the more difficult. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.